to have you with us. So we have very happy to have you with us today for another session of our Fueling Tomorrow Asia SAF Industry Series webinars from SAFA. So today we have two new guests coming specifically with us from two different alliances. So they are not from corporate world. They have been working in a corporate world, but today they're not from the industry. They're not from private companies. They are from a non-profit association, and they are partnering with us to present to you and building a unified framework for SAF development and deployment. So we have Isha Mittal from Global Biofuel Alliance, and we have Eason Chen from IAGA, the International Association for Green Aviation. So without further ado, I'll let Gabrielle take the mic and introduce further the session. Gabrielle, floor is yours.
We're gonna get everyone updated to with Asafa, then we kick off the webinar. Apologies there. For those new to our webinars, we're really welcome. For returning guests, attendees also, nice to see you again. We took a small break, last month, but we keep this running. Only August and September, so forth. So keep your your inbox ready. We'll send you more details soon. But what we've been up to really in the last 2 months or so, we actually had our own events in Thailand and Japan, the Innovation and Policy Summits. You see the pictures over here. This was quite well attended with about 180 guests in total on 2 days with, again, industry, our members, policymakers, really coming to the room to talk about SAF. We believe we made some progress in terms of connecting really the SAF ecosystem, examining how Thailand can be a SAF hub and how Japan can tap on Southeast Asia to really utilize its feedstocks and mobilize investments. For us, ASFA remains to be a unique organization. We're both let's say based out of Singapore and really trying to steer the conversation, industry-led as a neutral and independent nonprofit. And again, we have lots to talk about today, and you've seen really our speakers will have a lot to share. So I'll move on a bit. We also like to really update with you our, let's say, latest collection of members and partners. Now we have 25 in the group of Asafa. We've recently had new members join in from Tripatra, from Jivo. They're both really active producers and technology licenses and supporting the whole ecosystem to develop new SAF plants. We're also quite fortunate to have Argus Media join us as well, as they are let's say, a very strong biofuels expertise, pricing, and platform in the industry as a PRA. So that's where we stand right now, and we really welcome for you to get in touch with us if you're interested to, build this ecosystem together as a member. With that, we also briefly touch on in November we have our next, let's say, major event. There'll be other events as well, but we'll highlight the One Sky Policy Summit. This will be held in Singapore in conjunction with Sustainable Aviation Futures, APEC. The idea is really first of its kind that we really bring together across, industry, policymakers, academia in a way, in a, let's say, more intimate setting. Intimate in the sense there will be at least 300 people, but the idea is really to kind of align ourselves on what's happening across the world in terms of SAF policy, success stories, remaining challenges, and what we can do for Asia. And we're also pleased to really, share that we being, let's say, joint partners. We also offer some discounts on top of the early bird prices that you see on the website. So feel free to scan in that QR code to really explore the website, download the latest agenda, and use the promo code ASAFA SAF10 for a 10% discount. With that, again, just one quick one on September, we're going to have more speakers come in from Sky Energy and FGA, Nexen, ECA. They'll be, again, showcasing a bit about what's happening SAF globally and within the region as well. So if you haven't signed up for that, yeah, so, please do. And coming back to the main topic today, we have our speakers, Isha and Edson, right? And Global Biofuels Alliance will go first. Also, gentle reminder, there will be a survey at the end of the webinar. When you exit your browsers, please make it a point to, again, share our views, and we really use your feedback to make our next webinar even better. So with that, again, that's all from us for Asia Self Association. Really, we'd like to bring it back to the speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. Should I begin?
Yep.
Okay, great. Um, just let me know whenever my screen is visible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Working now.
Okay, great.
Please.
So I'll try and keep it short. I understand I have 24 odd minutes. I have a big agenda to cover. We'll try and spend some time introducing you to what the Global Biofuels Alliance is. We've been trying to do some work in advancing the global biofuels agenda at a multilateral government level as well as at other international forums. What we're doing, particularly on SAF at GBA, a quick overview on how we think the SAF market is shaping up, and then what is required, what is not, and then a little overview if we have time left on the sustainability ecosystem. Happy to skip that in case we're short on time. Right. So the Global Biofuels Alliance is a very young, nascent organization. We were launched by senior leaders from 8 other countries, along with Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister from Singapore as well, Mr. Biden, the President, Mr. Lula da Silva from Brazil as well. So, at a very strong opening into the biofuels ecosystem, we have about 80 to 90% of ethanol producing countries on board. I think SAF is still low, but we're hoping to get more SAF producing countries on board as well. Now, our foundation document outlines a few strategic priorities on where we focus, right? First is, of course, that overall advocacy on the role that biofuels can play in reducing GHG emissions. Second is helping our countries, our member countries, to actually start adopting more biofuels via policy support, via industry support, etc. Some capability and capacity building exercises as well. And in the end, we also want to ensure that there is a market available for free trade of biofuels as well as the feedstocks and the technology that come with it. Right. Um, our governance framework was adopted recently last month, and that allows us to actually kick in our governance process in place. We have 32 countries, 14 international organizations, ever expanding. In case any of you are interested to be a part of GBA, please write to us at the secretariat at biofuelsalliance.com, and we'll be happy to onboard you. We have a special affiliate group called the Industry Advisory Board, which is accepting membership from industry. So, in case you're interested, very happy to have you. Um, Quickly on what we've done until now is we've hosted the biofuels workshop series, based on which where we're covering 5 biofuels, right? Biomethane, SAF, marine, biodiesel, and ethanol. Um, we also hosted a SAF webinar last month, had great participation in the webinar, had very good speakers as well. And now collaborating with ASAF in executing similar webinars. In case you want to view these are available on the websites along with the speaker presentations as well. In case you have any questions, we're happy to connect you to the speakers, and you can take your questions there. Right, we've done a few white papers. Our first white paper was on role of bio-based diesel in supporting the diesel transition journey. Was launched at COP. It was written in collaboration with Italy and Brazil. While this focuses on diesel a lot, given the topic, there is also a very strong relationship to SAF in terms of technology development, because renewable diesel and SAF have a strong correlation in the technology in terms of GFT or pyrolysis or PTL technology, right? So we think that both of them should go hand in hand, and given that the same technology can progress both, we think there is a very strong case to build to further these technologies. Very quickly, an overview of our next paper, which was on role of non-grain based biofuels in India's energy transition, tries to highlight that, look, while there are varied definitions of what sustainable biofuels look like or what advanced biofuels are, right? We believe that something as basic as non-grain based biofuels, which very clearly articulates that there is no competition with food versus fuel. There is significant potential for waste based feedstock as well to contribute to meaningfully to India's energy landscape, right? And India is a big country, has multiple fuels, and the template is very similar to many global south countries as well. So great findings here, saying that there could be impact on 3 to 4 million green jobs, would save forests of up to 30 billion, increase farmer income directly by $6 to $9 billion, along with the, of course, carbon emission savings, which could help countries meet um, their NDC goals. And please feel free to stop me in case you have any questions at any point. We've also developed some tools for policymakers to support the adoption of biofuels. And these were launched at COP29 and are available on our website. So, two tools. One is the bio-based diesel potential calculator. It tries, in case you give it any the feedstock that you have in your country, and what is the quantity available. It can give you an output on what is the these bio-based diesel potential in your country. Second is, we've tried to develop a scenario modeling tool which says that, look, um, given that feedstock is restrictive, right? There may be limitation on the feedstock. There may be limitation on where do you use the biofuel produced, right? Or which industry to decarbonize first. This tool essentially helps you analyze various scenarios in that front. We've been present at multiple global forums, including G20, WEF, India Energy Week as well, giving, convening stakeholder roundtables, ministerial level roundtables, participating in high level discussions, trying to create awareness with pavilions as well. But we plan to do these again at COP30 this year. And we look forward to some of your participation there as well. At COP29 specifically, just deep diving because it was very recent, and COP30 is supposed to be very relevant for us. We launched the website and a white paper here. We hosted an exhibition, had a lot of traction from the people around there. We hosted two discussions. One was focused on setting up the common definition of sustainability in biofuels, because we believe that this can significantly open up trade for all biofuels. Second was on liquid biofuel for climate change, and how they can, quick action can simply help decarbonize mobility uh, uh, as a sector. The third one that we have was on mobilizing finance for biofuels, and is something that we are also taking up in a big way this year. We also had a strong participation at India Energy Week, again, deep diving because it was very recent for us. We launched the joint statement on its sustainable biofuels, which were endorsed by IEA, IEF, the World Economic Forum, as well as WLG and World Biogas Association. We launched our NGB white paper, and again had discussions on how sustainability can be advanced via cooperation among our member countries, at least. Right. We also were acknowledged in the G7 Turin statement, and we were also signatory to it, and it was noted in the G7 ministers communique as well. So quickly coming to what we are planning to work on, right? So we want to do a workshop, a publication where we want to deep dive on some of these key topics, right? On why SAF is typically important, what does the supply chain look like, and some of this I will also cover today, right? On what are the global SAF mandates looking like, what is the sustainability definition and governance, because we've seen that there has been a evolving definition on what is acceptable, what is not. So it could be something as simple as UCO being recognized at some point and then not being recognized, or a particular amount of SAF needs to come from a particular pathway. So those types of regulatory developments tend to hamper investor confidence, because unless you have visibility on where your what demand you're addressing, it becomes very challenging to actually make a huge investment decision, right? There are multiple barriers to scale. Again, I will deep dive a little bit on this and some recommendations as well. In case any of you want to contribute to a section on this, we would be very happy to engage with you. um, just a very quick overview on SAF regulations. This is trying to keep it as recent as possible. There are very strong mandates available in the EU, as is clearly visible. There is a different pathway clarification as well that EU has given us. Of course, CORSIA kicks in 2027 onwards and then will scale in a big way post 2030. But we also believe that Corsia allows you to offset your targets instead of talking about SAF adoption specifically. While IATA says that SAF adoption is going to be like 60% of what aviation decarbonization will look like, it is very important to have certainty on SAF offtake immediately so that we can people have clarity that SAF particularly will get picked up. If I look at North America, there are very strong indicators uh, to have SAF mandates. Brazil, again, is going via the emission reduction angle and talking about that. If I look at the Southeast Asia, India has also given indicative mandates. Other countries like New Zealand, Australia, Thailand are also trying to get to a mandate space. I think one country where there is significant potential to do this is Japan, which is giving a very strong political push to adopt SAF. We also see that there are a lot of programs that airlines are taking up voluntarily to start adopting SAF. So various airlines have taken multiple have taken targets to actually start reducing SAF and create that voluntary demand. Some organizations are also trying to buy SAF to set off their aviation uh, um, emissions, so including DHL, which uses logistics, airline logistics in a big way. Companies, management consulting companies like BCG, McKinsey, who have their own net zero targets and have huge SAF or aviation related emissions because of the extensive travel that people do. Coming to key challenges that we believe hamper the potential of SAF, we believe that, of course, HEFA is working in a great way right now, considering it is, uh, uh, feasible right now in terms of cost, etc. However, we believe that there will be a point, and that's in the first and third one are slightly more related, to say that if you try and address 2030 SAF demand by HEFA, that may be a challenge. But if you try and address 2050 SAF demand by HEFA, you will absolutely not make it. In that context, it is very important to start focusing on broader technologies like ATJ, FT, and PTL and pyrolysis type of pathways, so that at least there is some learning curve there, as well as you are able to exponentially scale it up whenever you start hitting feedstock constraints, which in our opinion is going to be sooner than later, right? Second is there is a fragmented supply network, especially for sustainable feedstock, so to speak, right? If you want to talk about non-agricultural residue, or you want to talk about municipal solid waste, you tend to have a lot of challenges in terms of, for segregation in municipal solid waste, or that, the volume of non-agricultural residue, agricultural residue required to produce SAF is a lot, and yield is very low. So the kind of area you need to cover depends very strongly. So things like I'll just come back to high production costs, right? So right now it is very easily 2 to 7x on what jet fuel cost looks like, and the question remains on who will bear it. Will airlines bear it? Will governments bear it? Will consumers bear it? Because in the end, it generally tends to come down to consumers. And if aviation is going to, the industry itself is very, very dynamic and cyclical in nature, especially, taking hit of things like COVID and geopolitical stances, etc. This is an important question that needs to be addressed. That one is, of course, cost needs to be reduced. Second is, until that is reduced, who bears the burden, right? Um, Next is on infrastructure limitations. We believe that right now a lot of people don't have clarity on exactly how will it work on ground in terms of which airports will have SAF availability, where what is the network optimization possible for incentives to ensure that each flight is able to take off some SAF, right, at the lowest cost possible. And how are airports actually tackling with developing distribution systems and take and, building them up. So some capability building is important here. Again, there's demand uncertainty because uh, a lot of governments have given indicative mandates, but there is limited firm demand for SAF specifically, right? While Europe has given the world a pathway, it still is not enough to actually say that, this is the amount of actual SAF that will be required. There are various projections out there, but certainty on this is important. There's also a lack of some long-term offtake agreements because no one has certainty on what will be acceptable for meeting the mandates 5 years later because no one's giving that policy certainty as well. Next is certification is still big, I think, in Europe, but in other countries, if you look at US or India or let's say a lot of even Southeast Asian or even let's say African countries, there are very limited certification bodies available, right, to actually go down and audit what is truly happening. There is limited. It's also very complicated ecosystem on what all is required to actually get certified. It has taken companies anywhere from like 3 to 6 to 9 months to actually get their certification, which is a very cumbersome process, right? There is also difficulty in the certification system in terms of getting the right data in place, right? So for example, if you have to go to a Indian farmer and tell him to start collecting data, it may not be feasible for him to do so. Right now I understand that RSB and ISCC have come up with some ways to sort of try and address this, but more needs to be done in terms of awareness on this.
Yeah,
That's,
really agree on that point. Or
yeah.
helping the smallholders catch up, right?
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that is important, right? So awareness and then capacity building, because right now it's while they have tried to be as detailed as possible, what that has done is made it very complicated for someone new to start, navigating that landscape. And there is no crash course on how to do this, right? So these we believe are key
Mm.
challenges hampering the potential of SAF. In order to understand and deep dive a little more on this, we are hosting industry consultation roundtables. These are all virtual in nature, and we would be very keen to hear if any of you are keen to fall in these participant categories and would be open to participating in these. The idea is to identify, apart from the above challenges, one is validate if they are right or not, like in person with you, or in discussion with you, and what do you think are potential solutions which can actually solve this, right? Because we still don't have on ground perspective on exact, like, the minuscule of the problems that you're facing, which need to be addressed at a higher level. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we will relay your inputs definitely to our member countries as well as international organizations so that they can build on it and take it forward, right? Just have a few recommendations on how SAF ecosystem should be built up, and then I will leave it to you for questions. um, One is, of course, we need stable definition of sustainability. What we believe that will do is give us, at least airlines, right, who want to decarbonize, can give very clear offtake agreements, right? That they can then build their own strategy and say that, look, X% will come from SAF, right? This is what SAF means, and if you meet this particular criteria, happy to get in a long-term contract with you, and then you can at least get some funding against it, because there's huge capex involved in any SAF project, right? Unless you do like HEFA or co-processing, that is difficult. Second is there should be incentives for developing alternate technological pathways, because right now there is a very weak business case to start pursuing those. It's anyone's guess on what the carbon market price will be, on whether your staff will qualify or not. So right now it is imperative that we give some production side incentives as well. Next is we believe that there is an imbalance between where is feedstock available for SAF and where the demand for SAF is. And similarly, where the potential for SAF production is and where the actual demand is going to be. So there needs to be a, and because SAF is a global commodity, right? There needs to be a very strong ecosystem which is seamless, in terms of feedstock trade or biofuels trade or SAF trade specifically as well. Um, we believe that airports also need to be supported in building the infrastructure. So not just airports, but also fuel providers, right? So something like Petrobras or Pertamina. Everyone needs to be supported on how will you dispense it at the airport, right? How will that infrastructure development work? Who will bear that cost? Who will take care of the maintenance and all of those things? Lastly, expanding the network of certification agencies and auditors and having a stronger um, system to ensure that there is no double counting, to ensure that whoever is actually claiming the credit gets it, there is authenticity with it, and there is strong confidence and trust in the system to start building this. I will stop it at that because I believe I'm at time. Uh, so
Um,
please,
yeah, we have some questions coming in, but if
yes.
there's just one or two more slides, please continue. It's all right. Yeah.
Okay, so I will then go
Mm.
back. Just I think two, three more slides I can give,
Mm.
and then we
It's
can
just somehow the transitions on the slides
got it.
impacting the visuals. Yeah, it's
Understood.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just
So
here. Yeah, please go
can you
ahead.
see my screen now?
Mm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So just a quick overview on where we think global SAF is, right? SAF capacity is significantly increased, specifically in 2024, 2021, 22 might also be an aberration because of COVID. But still a very limited part of, what the global jet fuel market is like. While there's a strong increase, the base is extremely low right now, which needs to really come up. Um, there are a lot of announcement for new facilities uh, in the last few years. However, there's been a slowdown in 2023, despite COVID releases that we have seen in the market. Um, However, if I look at where who is putting up the plant, right, we see that OEMs and airlines, they are coming into a big way for SAF because of two things is my hypothesis. One is they want to ensure um, that they have good control on the supply chain and they're able to play a cost plus game instead of a demand led pricing, because the price on SAF is anyone's guess right now on where it will be in the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? So a good control on what cost it is and then buying it at cost plus and ensuring supply is we believe one thing leading airlines to start and they also of course give certainty of demand as well to the producers. So it is a win-win situation for everyone. If I look at where project financing is actually coming up, we see SAF, bio-based SAF as one of the big areas here. Limited increase in eSAF, hydrogen, carbon capture, etc. We believe more needs to be done in terms of project development and pursuing multiple pathways for decarbonization. um, while a lot of organizations have shown that look, we want to do SAF, we see very limited. So everyone's taking a wait and see approach, wherein they want to see just how well just a few players are doing it, because by 2030, 2035, the market is going to be so big if it works out that you can come in later by 2030, or make an investment decision in 2029, put up a plant in 2 to 3 years, and then start servicing that demand instead of investing right now in some uncertainty, and then losing out on all the learnings, the cost savings that the learnings could bring in the next 2 3 years, because next 2 3 years a lot of people are also jumping in. So we see that Too many players are maintaining a wait and see approach for SAF. Gabriel, how much time do I have? Just
Um, it'd be good to kind of take the questions as well. We got a lot
yeah,
coming in.
yeah, great, great. So I'm happy to wrap up now,
Okay.
and take questions.
All right.
So
So, mm, please go ahead. Yeah.
yes, I think Ditmar
Mm,
has a question on IATA's booking claim system for APAC SAF industry. I think it will be great, primarily because I think a lot of SAF production can be focused in APAC, while the consumption can be across, of course, Europe and North America and South America both. But I believe that Southeast Asia, or at least APAC, has a very big cost advantage as well in terms of renewable energy, which can be used to produce SAF and actually reduce the carbon intensity of the SAF that is produced. Um,
mm,
Bob, I'm just reading your question that you're in Canada and you have many policy gaps to address by different levels of government. You're wondering in the SAF ecosystem what are government policy funding gaps in Asia and which country is leading in annual SAF production. Um, I'll be honest, Bob, I don't think any country is in a place where they are truly leading SAF production, because right now the capacity is so small, it is so minuscule. I think it is too early to say that which country will actually end up leading in the next 5 years or so. But I believe Singapore is going in a big way in SAF. Um, there are a lot of, in terms of policy gaps in Asia, there are very limited firm policies saying that this is the incentive given, this is the firm demand given, this is the production side incentive, this is the supply chain side incentive. Unless there is certainty and there is some investment from government on all of these fronts, it will be very difficult to develop the ecosystem, because even if one of the things falls off the plate, right? Um, how does a plant function? So if you don't have UCO traceability, right? Though everything else can be in place, but the whole value chain might just fall flat. Um, could I clarify again when the mandate in India is coming into force?
Maybe, Isha, if you don't mind, just complementing that to Bob Paul. I think in Asia, if you take the United Nations definition, then it's 48 countries. So you can imagine that you have the gaps you have already in Canada, and potentially you multiply by 48, and you are close to the situation we have today in Asia. And that's why Global Biofuel with SAFA are joining the strengths to try to match up and provide kind of a line framework for policymakers, not only in terms of percentage of usage, but also in terms of policies on fundings, of certification, of quality, of technology. So there is a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
It's just the beginning of the story. I mean, Canada is more advanced than the region, and even in the region, I mean, they have countries that are a lot more advanced than others. So it's a massive work to do, and happy to have you and everybody else joining us so that we can cope with this and this work. But that's the excitement as well. I mean, if there was nothing to do, then there's no need for GBA, there's no need for SAFA at the same time. Sorry, Isha,
yeah.
go up to you.
No, so we completely second your opinion on this. I think there's a question on SAF mandate in India. There is no certain mandate. There's an indicative mandate of 1%, 2%, and 5% that is launched. But I don't know how how much you go by that, right? Because it is not a certain mandate. Is there a difference between ESAF and BioSAF? In the Indian mandate, the mandate currently does not specify which SAF it is. It just says SAF. But there is, of course, a difference between how e-fuels are produced and how bio-based sustainable aviation fuels are produced.
Yeah, the only place in the world to so far where you have a ESAF sub-mandate in
Is
addition to the
Europe.
mandate on SAF is Europe. Anywhere else, then there's
mm,
no difference in between ESAF, BioSAF, or whatsoever. It's just mandates or policies for SAF as a whole.
Yeah. I think that's all from my end, Gabrielle. I hope I was helpful.
mm. No, thank you for that. I don't know if there are any last minute questions. You can even raise your hand up and can speak as well. There's a feature that allows that, right? Um, Otherwise, thank you really for sharing a bit. Um, oh, one more question just came in.
Yeah, please.
Must be to you, right? Do you consider that HEFA will face limited feedstock in the future for self production?
Yeah, I do. I do. I have a very strong sense that HEFA will fall short for supplying, let's say, 2050 demand. Definitely, don't see there is enough feedstock to address SAF demand in 2050 by HEFA.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, really, thank you for your time. Let's hand over the floor to Eason.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Gabriel. Let me just share my screen first. Just let me know whether
Yeah,
you guys
fingers
can see it.
crossed, everything's
Perfect.
okay.
Just wait a
Great.
moment.
Thank you.
Isan, you're not on full screen mode at the moment, right? Or
Yeah,
are you?
yeah, I'm just working on that. Just
Okay,
wait a
okay, okay,
moment.
okay. No worries. No, because sometimes also we have some presenters. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It works well. Cool. Okay.
It does.
Thank you
Yes.
for inviting. Yeah, Asafa. My name is Eason, also Chen Yu. I'm the Chief Operating Officer from SAF Center under the Second Research Institute of Civil Aviation Administration of China. And it's my privilege to be here today through this webinar to talk about the SAF development status and opportunities in China. And I will mainly cover three parts today. So first of all, I will summarize the sub-development status across the globe, and in particularly China. And the part two, I will talk about the opportunities we have, especially in China. And the part three, we'll talk about the who we are and what we've done since our establishment and our future plan to further work with the stakeholders and support the sub industry. So with regards to the emission reduction targets for international aviation, first of all, I will talk about the famous CORSIA mechanism. It was adopted by the ICAO in 2016, under which, starting from the year 2021, the newly increased carbon dioxide generated by the international flights needs to be offset by using eligible emission units or CORSIA eligible fuels, including SAF. And in October 2022, the members of ICAO reached the long-term aspirational goal to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And in the CAP3, or the famous ICAO third conference on aviation and alternative fuels held in Dubai 2023, I further clarified the implementary frameworks and also the importance of large-scale sub-deployments. And organizations like IATA also set similar, strategy like the flat net zero, under which that SAF definitely plays a vital role to achieve that goal by 2050. And also, according to IATA, the demand forecast for SAF is also very promising, which will start from 8 billion liters in 2025 and will exceed 400 billion liters in 2050. And China, the different, from the developing regions like European unions, they have the targets, for 2030 or 2050, and China has set up its own carbon reduction goal. This is called the carbon. We will reach carbon peak by 2030, and will reach carbon neutral by 2060. As a responsible, developing country. And speaking of the aviation sector, uh, definitely the aviation fuel accounts for the majority of the carbon emissions in China's civil aviation. And the jet fuel consumption in China is growing rapidly, and also is very huge. If you look at the data from last year, 2024, it's already exceeding 40 million tons, and is still increasing. So nowadays, with the electric and hydrogen kind of a technology is still on the way to be commercialized. So in that perspective, the sustainable aviation fuel and also SAF definitely is the successful deployments is key for China to achieve the carbon reduction targets. And globally, there are the countries and regulations. They have different policies to support the SAF business. Let's look at the first United States of America. We know that from the famous Grand Challenge plan that by 2030, the annual consumption in the States, the SAF will reach 9 million tons. And in 2050, that number will reach 105 million tons, which means that at that time, it will be kind of a 100% replacement on the conventional jet fuel to SAF. And also in the European Union and UK, we know that starting from this year, the mandate has already been started like the 2% blending ratio using SAF. And there are also the other countries, they have similar, regulations and mandates. There's still kind of a timeline with different ways. And then Asia Pacific, we know that in Singapore, the mandate will start from next year via the levy from the international customers, and also the Japanese government has set up a very aggressive plan to use like 10% SAF ratio by 2030. And in China, it's a little bit different. With Chinese people, we always put those high priority things kind of on the 5 years plan to ensure that we can make it kind of practical. So during this cycle from 2021 to 2025, the target is to use 50,000 tons of SAF, and the majority of the volume will be completed by this year. So if you look at the latest data from the ICAO, that actually the SAF is growing really steadily across the globe. Globally, the commercial flights using SAF has been reached 840,000, and the facilities and those still under construction has been exceeding 471, and the total nameplate capacity is over 35 million tons. And the global offtake agreements has reached 4.3 million tons, while those airports has been using or distributing SAF has reached 172. So nowadays, we can almost say that SAF compared with the conventional jet fuel is still kind of a nascent market. But if you look at the growing rates for the past 3 years, this is kind of a 100% growth in ratio this moment. So definitely, this is a really have a bright future for all of us. And if you look at the China, we do have a lot of milestones achieved for SAF. And it's actually back in 2020, 2011, this is kind of the first try for SAF in China with Air China using the biojet fuel. And in 2014, we certified the #1 biojet fuel. So just like 7 or 8 years, the SAF remains relatively kind of a low profile in China. But, just together with the trend in the world, like 3 years ago, the SAF really becomes really hot in China. So if you look at the year in 2022, the Sinopec, they obtained the SAF airworthiness certificates in China with the Airbus and also Air China for the first international cargo SAF flights that was happened in that year. And in 2023, we launched the Zhengzhou to Luxembourg, Belgium, the air Silk Road using 110% SAF, and also the first kind of commercial flights with SAF also happened in that year with the Air China. And especially for last year, I would say that the SAF business development in China is really just kind of running really fast with Helan Junheng, one of the private company, just obtained the SAF airworthiness certificates. And actually, nowadays we have 4 producers in China. They have already obtained that certificates, which means they are ready, to run the business in a commercialized way and just fulfill all the safety standards. And also the Sichuan Airlines and Comac, they use SAF at this moment. And notably, we know that the Civil Administration Aviation of China, they launched the SAF pilots from September last year. Actually, we selected 4 international airports in China. We selected 12 regular flights to use SAF starting from September last year. And actually, this pilot has been extended to all the domestic flights in those 4 international major airports starting from March this year. And this is exactly showing that in China, I think that we all share the same goal that we need the better, the cleaner sky, the also the fresh air. So the Chinese people are really working steadily to promote the self-development. So this is giving just a big flavor about what we are and about the current status. And then let's move on to what kind of opportunities we have. So speaking of sustainable aviation fuel, we know that the sustainability is really important to ensure that the staff can fulfill that kind of a 14 criteria set by the ICAO CAEP, and that can be classified into 3 parts, including those environments and economic and kind of a social. So only those sustainable fuel to fulfill the requirements can be classified as sustainable kind of aviation fuels. This is kind of the basic rules for that. So with that, if you look at the ICAO CAEP, the eligible fuel, we have actually different feedstock choices, and it's still increasing, right? So up to date, we have 49 choices at this moment, including the seed oil, municipal solid waste, and also used cooking oil, and so on and so forth. And from the technical wise, currently there are 11 different pathways has been approved by the ASTM, and also there are other pathways there on the list to be approved in the future. And in China in particular, we believe that on top of all the pathways, those 4 pathways will be mainly successful in China, including the HEVA is the most mature one at this moment. And we also have the alcohol jets, the gasification, FT, and also power to liquids. So those are, suitable for the development in China. This is, linked with the feedstock capacity in China. So according to the kind of a third-party data reports, that we have a balanced supply in terms of the used cooking oil is over 5 million tons per year. We also have agricultural waste and forest waste like municipal solid waste, who are suitable for gasification and FT pathway. And for China, we have a big population, so those feedstock, we need to first of all to ensure that the people they do have the food. So from an alcohol jet perspective, we believe that those ethanol produced from industrial waste gas is much more practical to work in China. And last but not least is the green electricity. We have abandoned, the wind and solar that actually the capacity has been reached 1.45 million megawatts, which definitely set a solid foundation for us to explore the power to liquid pathway in China. And also the certification, sustainability certification schemes, or SCS. So currently the ICAO has approved like 3, including those ICCAIA and the newest one from Japan, Class NK. So all in all, those SCS, what we need to do is that to ensure that all the stakeholders in the whole value chain to be managed, and a robust system to ensure the custodian, the traceability, and the sustainability from the feedstock supplier, processor, producer, supplier, trader, and also to the airlines. And in fact, the ICAO are welcoming, more and more SCS to join that program, and this is exactly one of the things that SAF Center is working on. I will tell you more details later on. So if you look at the opportunities and also our suggestions to further develop SAF in China, so first of all, if you look at the opportunities, definitely the green development trend in China is inevitable, which means that the Chinese economy has been actually transformed from those traditional ways to care more about the low carbon and carbon reduction. So definitely SAF is the key of the trends. And then secondly, we do have a huge jet fuel consumption. As I mentioned, that actually from last year, the annual jet fuel consumption in China is over 40 million thousand tons, and is still increasing. So just give you an example that the Chinese airlines in just one day in average, we are buying a new aircraft to join the fleets. So you know that this is really a growing and also huge jet fuel consumption markets. And thirdly, we do have abundant feedstock resources. If you look at used cooking oil at this moment, with a large population in China, so virtually, China is the biggest exportation, country in the world for used cooking oil. Also, we have the other, as I mentioned, especially for power liquid. We do have the green electricity to support that pathway in the future. So we do have some suggestions from our perspective to further develop the SAF. So first of all, we need to optimize the value chain of SAF, including the supply and demand. We need to ensure those used cooking oil are collected and the traceability are really well managed. While for the demand perspective, we do hope that the airlines they should take more responsibilities to use SAF, while also the public needs to be educated uh, for using SAF at this moment. And secondly, we need to strengthen the R&D investments, especially as we know that the HEFA technology can only solve the 0 to 1 at this moment. But if we really want, to further replace the jet fuel with SAF, definitely we need more uh, different pathways. Those when they are commercialized and with the cost can be bring down to ensure that more and more different SAF can be produced, like from the alcohol jets and powdered liquid and so on and so forth. And last but not the least, as we mentioned that we need to establish the SAF sustainability our certification scheme in China. Uh, this is mainly to ensure that those local feedstock can really play the full potential to generate, from the feedstock to the SAF we need, and also to ensure the whole value chain can be really managed well under the robust traceability system. So with that, as the SAF Center, we are the very first SAF research institute located in the beautiful city of Chengdu in China uh, from July last year. And although this is a young, the organization, but we've already built the business partners over 80, including all the top players in the industry. And from the R&D perspective, the total investment has been exceeded 200 million RMB already. And if you look at a historical perspective, we do have a long history. So back in 1958, we established the Civil Aviation Science Research Institutes of China, and in 1987, we were renamed as the second research institutes, which just in short we call it CASRI. And in 1992, we established the Civil Aviation Administration Testing Center, which is under the CASRI. And in 2010, to be more focused on aviation fuels and chemicals, we just established the Civil Aviation Fuel and Chemicals Airworthiness Certification Center of China. So in that case, we really did a lot of job to ensure that the safety of the jet fuel in China is well managed, or even just leading the world. So leveraging all the past background and those resources, we established CASRI SAF Center from July last year. And just in short, the SAF Center is playing a pivotal role in China SAF industry. So first of all, we will continue, to support the governments with the Civil Aviation Administration of China in particular. We deeply, join the SAF Pilots program to ensure that they is safety running and all the database and value chain is well managed. This is done by SAF Center. And also we're helping the governments to drafting the SAF development plan, the reports and the roadmap in China. And secondly, we're serving the industry. Actually, together with the China National Aviation Fuel, we have launched the China's first SAF Alliance to create a better, ecosystem for all the stakeholders, to play really well in the markets. And we are building a SAF industry database, and we're continuing to optimize the full process verification capability for aviation fuel. And actually, we are the only one in Asia Pacific who has the capability to build a clearing house. And this is our targets we are working on. And thirdly, we are, tailoring the innovation through our hard work, including we're establishing the SAF standard system. We are developing the SCS in China, and also we are the very first civil aviation carbon emission verification body certified by the China National Authority, CNAS. So this is part of the show you a part of the business partner we have, just including all the top airlines, manufacturers, the refineries, as well the feedstock players in China. And looking ahead, we will continue to strengthen our influence in 5 parts. So first of all, we will continue to support the governments to strengthen our policy and standard research, to play a really important role in a policy think tank. And secondly, we will continue to serve the industry by organize and promote those collaborative development of industries. And actually we can provide the whole value chain consulting to those new players in the markets to ensure that from the PID, the construction, to be commercialized, we can provide the whole value chain consulting service. And thirdly, we will continue to invest on the R&D and innovation. Actually, we are building the pilot platform, in China to focus on the HEVA, the alcohol jets, the gasification FT, and also power to liquid, as I mentioned earlier. And the fourth one, we are building this SCS to hopefully someday, this is kind of a newly SCS, but also recognized by ICAO to, just as I mentioned, to play the potential both locally and also, this is kind of a uniformed platform to work with the international organizations. And the last one, definitely, we will continue to play as a bridge to link the Chinese SAF industry to the world, to hope that through the international cooperation, we can build or grow the SAF business internationally. So with that, this is our QR code for the WeChat. Definitely, we hope that you can scan and follow us. And we believe that together, we shape the future of sustainable aviation, because this is work never done by a single person or a single institute. Okay, so also there are some of the bonuses for today. As a IAGA. Yeah, this just
yes, go for it, Eason.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so for IAGA, this is a organization definitely support the sustainable development goals of the United Nations and also ICAO. I think they also play an important role, just like ASAFA, to bridge all the stakeholders to help with the international cooperation. And they do have a lot of activities to focusing on the green activity. So for this year in particular, there is the third international conference on green aviation to be held in Xi'an. This is a beautiful and traditional city in China where the terracotta warrior is located. And I think the fabrics from ASAFA and also the chief scientists of CASRI, they will also be the co-chairs. So if you're interested on that, do not hesitate to scan a QR code and register for that conference. Yeah, so that's all for my presentation today. So happy to take any questions you want to talk.
Thank you, Eason. Thank you very much. So we have some questions for you. You can open the Q&A part of Zoom, or if not, then we can either Gabriel or I could read the questions to you, Eason, if you want.
Sure.
So maybe the first question then is, so what are the expected SAF certification roadmap in China, and how is it expected to differ from a EU-US-led certification scheme ecosystem?
Okay, so yeah, thanks for the question. So as I mentioned that the ICAO actually, if you look at the website, they clearly mentioned that they do welcome, different CS to join that ICAO just as long as they fulfill those 14 criteria in terms of sustainability. So just in short, what we are doing in China is quite similar to in terms of the sustainability criteria, we are exactly the same. But the difference is that we will try to fully utilize the feedstock resources in China. So if we look at the SAF definition, we talk a lot about the bottleneck from the feedstock supply, but we believe that different regions, they actually have different, strengths on a kind of a particular feedstock. So in that perspective, only those localized CS better, play the full potential. So this is we do have a lot in common, but also we are also support the local kind of choices. Yeah, the second should be, what's the feedstock? Is it correct for the feedstock for
alcohol to jet? Yeah,
yeah, it's ethanol from corn. Yes, for alcohol to jets, definitely. So the feedstock should be alcohol, but I would say that in China, as we are still a developing country. First of all, we need to ensure that the people they do have enough food. So in that perspective, I don't think the corn will be a suitable choice for China locally. So we are more focused on those kind of like the industrial, waste gas. This is another actually feedstock we can choose to generate alcohol. So this is my personal view on that. And
thank you.
Yeah, I'm wondering why algae is not a feedstock for SAF production. Well, I didn't. I can't remember. I mentioned about the algae, but I would say that if you look at the ASTM pathways, I do believe that algae is one of the choices at this moment. But I think if you look at the ASTM perspective, this is kind of to set up a safety standard to ensure that those pathways are workable from the safety perspective. But the key to whether a pathway can be really successful, that definitely you need to consider about the economics. So I think the biggest challenge for algae is that whether it can really compare with the used cooking oil at this moment if you compare with the same pathway and the HEVA. So this is something we really need to consider. So in short, definitely we welcome more and more pathways, but the key is that whether we can really bring down the cost, whether it can support a commercialized one to really help with the business development of SAF. Yeah, the last one in China, considering implementing SAF mandates during yes, will be more likely to be based on incentive penalties for long compliance. Yeah, this is I would say that although the SAF Center is ended, the instruction of Civil Aviation Administration of China, but today, if you look at the webinar, all the points of view just represent myself. I cannot just represent, the CASC. So whether when or exactly the mandates will be implemented, I would say it's better, to follow up the latest information published on the government website. I would say that definitely we are working on that. As we said, this is not a, for the carbon neutral in aviation. This is a truly global, point on things, and for all the human beings, thing for the Chinese people were no difference. So technically, there are different ways like incentives or penalties, but we do share the same goal. That is very clear: bring down the carbon emissions in aviation.
I think it would be good. You mentioned about the pilot programs that are still
Yeah,
ongoing right now. Maybe you can share a bit more, like which airports and how is it being deployed?
yeah, definitely, yeah. So if you look at as I mentioned, that study from September last year, there are four major airports, those in Chengdu, in the west of China, and Zhengzhou in the central parts, while Ningbo airports in the eastern parts, and Beijing airports in the north. So definitely we have four major international airports. They are using SAF on the on a regular basis for all the domestic flights. This is the current status we are doing, and we know that more and more major airports definitely will join that program. So this is a kind of really show you that this is a steady work or action where toward that carbon reduction by using SAF. Yeah. Shall I move on for well, you could be banned to export from China. Now export subsidy being canceled. I want to hear my view, yeah, for policy future. Yeah, again, as I mentioned, yeah. Again, I will say that for today, this is only my personal view. Yeah, so yeah, I think you are pretty clear that the exportation subsidy has been canceled in China. So yeah, this is something we are working on. But if you look at, I think for China for today, based on my experiences to working either with the governments or the industrial stakeholders, this is kind of a free market. So personally, I don't believe that this is going to have, because if you look at the used cooking oil, it's really important for our business. But compare with the the huge the whole economy activities in China. This is one of them. So if you look at the kind of free trade market, I don't think this is going to be banned or something. But in short, the competition definitely will become more and more fierce than before, especially with those refineries and more producers in China. They are you know mm, ran into operation. So that's definitely the case we need to face. Is there any permitting restriction on reports on exports or import stuff? Okay. So first of all, yeah, let's look at the exportation. Um, yeah, so SAF is quite like the oil business in China. So we, if you look at the Chinese government perspective, this is kind of a quota management. But if you watch the latest news for this year, one of the newly refineries in China is a totally private company called Zhejiang Jiao, has already obtained that quota to export the SAF from China just freely. So this is kind of the model we will say for a certain period of time. This is for the exportation. Yeah, in short, yeah, is we can export the SAF, but you need to apply for the kind of a quota just in a kind of a you know uh just fulfill all the requirements. And for the imports of SAF, Yeah, I think this is something. If you look at jet fuel, definitely is open nowadays to import from the rest of the world to China. I think for SAF, as long as you are competitive enough, I think this is a. I don't think any hurdles or restriction at this moment from my point of view.
Thank you very much, Eason.
Yeah, thanks, Fabrice.
So I think we covered all the questions. Yep. Thanks again for sharing your thoughts, and I think it was very clear that you don't talk in name of any Chinese official government organizations. You take under your name and under the name of the IAGA Association as well. I think again, thanks to you, Aisha has left also, so my first to Aisha. That was very instructive, very interested as always. We don't want to take much of your time. To the attendees today, thank you for joining us. I think it was excellent for you. Don't hesitate if you want to contact our panelists to write to us. Of course, don't hesitate to join ASAFA for the ones that are not yet the members. And we look forward to seeing you all in Xi'an from 21st to 23rd of October, and have an excellent event over there with Eason, with Gabriel and I as well. So thank you all. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you, speakers. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.